I got this game about 13 years ago. Not to play the game, mind you, but to have a look at what the Halo 3 beta was all about. And I gotta say, I had fun with the Halo 3 beta. You know, so did a lot of other people. It's what got people to buy the game. But whenever I put this in the interim, I was not only pleasantly surprised, but this thing kept me occupied for hours. It was what 2006 needed. A goofy comic book style shooter / superhero game. Now, the real question is, does almost the same exact formula stand up 13 years later?
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Crackdown 3 on the Xbox One X. Running in glorious 4K at 30 FPS. No. Yes, that's right, PC Master Race fans. You get to troll me in the comments about how I didn't play the PC version. But I'm going to justify it because this game came out on the Xbox 360 originally, the first one, and, you know, the second one did too. So it's got Xbox at the core. Anyway, gameplay. It's Crackdown. Like, they didn't really do much to improve the formula. Basically, you go around collecting things and doing these small missions randomly across the map. There is kind of a aerial progression. There is a way that they very clearly want you to go. But, I mean, you don't really have to if you feel ballsy. You can take on the harder areas before you're technically supposed to. Shooting feels great. I mean, auto lock on, that's what I did in the 360 version, the original Crackdown. You know, it runs fluid, 30 FPS. I mean, if I played the PC version, I got a GTX 1080 Ti, I'm sure I could play it at 4K 60 FPS, but to be completely honest, I totally forgot that this was one of those Play Anywhere titles that Microsoft is doing. So yes, I forgot there was a PC version. Again, feel free to say something in the comments. It's Crackdown. A new version of Crackdown. That's what I've been waiting for years. So it doesn't disappoint, but it doesn't surprise either. It's like, I'm gonna go with what everybody else says, and they just kinda did it. There was no benefits of a modern open world progression type game, but it's Crackdown. I mean, what else do you need? You can still pick things up and throw them at people, and you can still shoot people. You still go after the bad guys. Still presented in kind of like a comic book fashion, which I do like. It was one of those things where everybody said it was too generic. Maybe comparing it to the original Crackdown, sure, but we could always use more comic book based games in 2019. I mean, we've gone for years without having one. That wasn't Marvel or DC anyway. And especially when they try to stylize it like a comic book. I mean, come on. Graphics? Yes. Let's talk about those. It's a modern version of Crackdown. Playing the OG one back on the 360 meant 720p. And Crackdown 2, also 720p. They never got any modern ports, so being able to play this on the Xbox One X at a nice, crisp 4K really gives you a subtle appreciation for some of the lower res textures that they decided to put in this game for some weird reason. I mean, it's part of the style, I do get it, but I would very much appreciate a high-res, highly stylized comic book game. That's something that would make my eyeball water with, you know, tears.
Be advised, a threat has been detected
Anyway,
in your area. Activating basic.
The city styles, what else can you say? The city looks awesome. It looks like a synthwave wet dream from like 2013. And the cars look like they came out of Tron. Like, for real. This is quite awesome. We need to put these stop and reverse LED screens on cars starting right now.
Promised land,
Because, you know, some people can't interpret the meaning of the white light on the back of your car. It's the reverse light. They call it the reverse light for a reason. But anyway, you know. Character design. It's a more fleshed out version of your OG Crackdown. There's really nothing more that can be said. I do like these new armor suits that have advanced lighting. And kind of looks like if Tron invaded the Crisis universe, this is actually kind of what the armor suits would look like. Sound, boy, let's get on to the sound. Now, I'm not complaining about the quality of the sound. Sound quality is very great. It had a legacy predecessor to stand up to. The original Crackdown won an award for sound design, but for some weird reason, it was during the late 2000s, let's make everything loud AF type thing. So, I think they just won that award due to making it as loud as humanly possible. This is a bit different. I found that I had to turn down the music a little bit so I could hear everything else more clearly, but the surround sound works. You know, everything sounds great. It sounds better than this recording right here. You know, gunshots, they have their own type of style here. Like, there's a punch if you're shooting them, but they kind of sound like a laser if you hear an opponent's bullet coming your way. It sounds kind of futuristic. You know, that's about all I can say. Vehicles have nice, deep running sound. You know, the sound effects and sound design, nothing to complain about. This music, though,
Get after him, Agent.
I mean, it sounds like somebody wrote a bunch of songs in 2012 and then left it on a hard drive sitting around in the project room or whatever. And then it was time to finally finish and compile the game. They dusted off that hard drive, plugged it in, and compiled the game. You guys remember 2012, right? It's definitely the thing. This game feels like it has an identity crisis, whether it's due to a graphics or a sound mismatch. Because whenever I look at the city, I expect to hear something like this. You know, like some Miami Nights 1984, or, you know, freaking Dynatron, maybe Perturbator, you know, something like that instead of this. So I don't quite I mean, the soundtrack could have used an update because it would have been better and easier to update the soundtrack since we moved on from dubstep instead of applying a
I wondered when Rock
toxic
would come out to play.
dubstep-ish feel to the city. But, you know, whatever. A biohazard symbol is not hard to come by. The story is perfectly serviceable from a Crackdown standpoint and open world superhero standpoint. Basically, 90% of the story happens in the first 10 minutes of gameplay. You start off as a rebuilt agent, a resurrected agent from the agency. Some hobbyist resurrects you, which is actually kind of cool. A hobbyist slash professional mechanic? Ambulance? You know, medical person? What would it be? But, you know, whatever. And then you're pretty much, after being discovered by the captain, you pretty much get to save the city in any way you see fit. There's not much of a story here. Basically, you advance your skill level in the game, and as you advance your skill level, you can go through this tree of bosses.
Bastard who preys on the helpless.
So,
and he gets away with it
I
because
mean,
he's got the keys to the
features
city.
a little more in-depth gameplay than the original Crackdown. They had the forethought to put the bosses on a tree, on a graphical tree this time, instead of just trying to remember, like in the original, where you were at the time, which actually could get very frustrating. In conclusion, it's a solid entry in the Crackdown franchise, and I'm pretty sure based on the lackluster reception slash numbers that it's going to be the final one, so it's going to be a trilogy. I might be able to come back here in about 11 to 12 years and say that I was wrong, that there is another Crackdown coming, but I highly doubt it. So it's a solid entry in the Crackdown series. Very polished, very safe, I guess. Not a lot of new area tread, but if you played the older Crackdowns, then you know where it's gonna go.
We're here to light shit up.
Is that Terry Crews? Gosh, that guy never has trouble finding where